Hi there, I am Rhonda Lauritsen. If you don't already know, I'm the founder and one of the authors and instructors here at Evalogue.Life. And today I'm going to share something that happened this past week and a powerful lesson that I've learned through the years about the power of the stories that we tell ourselves and the way that understanding this principle will help make you more resilient. And if you can teach this to the young people in your life, I think it's one of the most important resilience lessons that any of us can learn. And I'm going to share with you how I live it and lived it this past week. So I'm going to start by saying, have you ever had an experience where you lost some work, where you had a tech glitch and you lost some work, and maybe it was a lot of work and it made you cry? Well, I did not cry this week. I'm going to tell you why. But I lost some work, and here's the story. So this past Saturday, we taught an all-day class on making an ancestor video, and it was great. I mean, we had great attendance, fantastic energy all day. It was so much fun. So anyway, I'm finishing. I'm at the finish line almost. Finished the day. Yay! It's great. Students did great. And I'm saving the files, had saved them to my desktop. The Zoom replays are processing, and it's processing. I'm watching it. It's a big, I'd saved it in chunks so that it would be, easier to manage and not a monster file. But I'm watching it processing, and I can feel my computer getting warm. So I turn on my fans. I'm like turning the air conditioning on in the house. Anyway, it's processing. It's taking forever because all day. Gets to 90, 50%, 60, 70, 80, 90%. 95, 97, 99%. Error message. Zoom has unexpectedly quit. My files were gone. The replays, gone. All except the last hour I had saved to the cloud. Thankfully, that part was saved, but all day from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. minus lunch, gone. And I did some research. I couldn't find it. Like the forums were saying, it's gone. And I didn't panic yet. I got some sleep. I woke up the next morning, did some troubleshooting, and okay, here we go. My dad was a Boy Scout, and he would always ask, like, what are our resources? And before I tell you what I did, I want to tell you the backstory of the story I'm telling myself this week. And by the way, I want to give a little shout out here. My best friend and I, we recently watched Brene Brown's Netflix special. I forget what it's even called, but really good Netflix special. And she talks about this idea of the story I'm telling myself is, and often like if she gets in a fight with her husband or something, they will say, what I'm telling myself in my mind that happened is this, and that might not actually be what's going on with you. And that's such a powerful insight, because what we're telling ourselves in our mind might not actually be the truth. It might not be what's happening at all. We might be making up a story around it that's not anywhere near what's going on with the other person. And it's so important to be in communication and to verify our story, because the mind is making up a story, whether we're aware of it or not. So I loved that. And I already, if you've watched any of my videos or whatever, know that I've been processing that idea for years, the hero's journey, and the fact that when we hit a dark night of the soul moment, we can learn to realize that this is the moment that empties us of our pride, when we're ready to accept help, we're ready to change. And the good stuff always comes after the dark night of the soul. So I've kind of come to realize that when I'm in a heap on the floor, I'm ready, getting ready for the good stuff to come. I'm ready for an answer, an insight, a breakthrough. And I give up my pride faster these days because I understand this principle, and I'm ready to just sort of surrender and get on with it. And so now I'm going to tell you the story I'm telling myself about what happened. Before I teach a class, every time, well, maybe I forget sometimes, but 98% of the time, I say a prayer before class, and I pray that we'll have a good spirit in the room. I pray for help with my delivery and technology, but I try to remind myself that it's not about me. It's about my students. And it doesn't matter whether my ego cares whether I did a good job. What matters is whether students get what they need and whether they feel inspired and whether they understand and get the learning that they need. So I express gratitude for that. And then I ask for help. And this particular time I asked, my specific prayer was, and I pray for help. If there are any tech glitches, I pray for grace with that. I pray that it will work out. I was demonstrating some technology live, and I know that things can happen. There can be glitches. And so let's just recover and have it be okay in the end. It's interesting. I didn't pray that nothing would go wrong. I prayed for grace if something did go wrong. Okay, so that was my mindset. And then such a big thing went wrong. Oh my gosh. How am I going to give the replay to students who paid for it and were counting on the replay? Well, I decided that we have all these other tutorials that we've taught over the last year. Most of the material that we were teaching in this class, we've taught at one time or another. And I've banked all those little modules over an entire year of teaching weekly tutorials and long classes and workshops. And I basically went to work and I pulled the transcripts from more than a year's worth of material. And I pulled the video replays and I pulled the segments and I basically reconstructed the class segment by segment, editing the audio. And I decided that what we were going to do was make it even better. So rather than it just being a big, long thing of replays, I was going to make each chunk succinct and really shine and be an even better product in the end, and that it would be something valuable and that I could share with even more students. And we were just going to make lemonade out of this thing. So that's what I did on Sunday. I sketched and mapped it all out. And on Monday, I got to work and I hunkered down and I spent several long days that I had not planned editing video. And then something else happened. Sunday night, I dreamed about my dad. I dreamed I was with someone and something very stressful was happening. And I looked over and my dad was sitting there on an easy chair. And he was like just sitting there and he was peaceful and he was smiling. He was like the best version of himself. And I knew in my dream that he was there in spirit. And I looked over and I said, Dad, thank you so much for coming today. And by that, I meant I dream about my dad oftentimes when I'm stressed or really worried about something. And he sort of shows up in my dreams in those moments when I just need to feel like my parents are walking with me, that they're mindful, they're here. And I touched his knee. And when I touched his knee, he faded. And that's a story that I tell myself, right? That my dad comes in my dreams when I need to know, to hear from him. And it's what I want to believe. Do I also acknowledge it's possible that it's just my inner wisdom and my inner voice that gives myself what I need in my dreams, and that dreams can be powerful, non-conscious mind processing? Absolutely. That's another story I tell myself. And I think that's completely plausible that that's what it is. Is it also plausible that our loved ones, whether they're physically, spiritually walking with us like ghosts, or whether they're just with us all the time? Yeah, that's another story. And I believe that's true too. But regardless, I'm choosing to believe that I prayed for help and grace, and it was there, and I had the resilience to not fall into a puddle and fall apart. And that's partly grace too. I don't have time and energy to fall apart right now. I just need to get it done. So these are the stories I'm telling myself this week, and the ways that it helps me recover from a little fiasco. And I hope maybe that you can also learn to process your own life, that you are the hero in your story, and that these many dark nights of the soul that we have are just leading to other good things. So that's what I have to share with you this week. Hope you're having a great week. If you're not, I hope it's leading to something else.